You've seen these places 1,000 times online. Perfect shots, clear horizons, no surprises. But reality begins just outside the frame of the photo. Social media shows us the world from an ideal angle. They cut out everything else: the city around it, the limitations, the rules, the context. In this video, I will show you popular places that look perfect online but tell a different story in real life. Not because they aren't beautiful, but because the reality around the frame is different. And at the end, I'll give you a practical bonus: how to tell if a place is beautiful for a photo or for an experience before you even go there. Niagara Falls. Online, Niagara looks like raw, wild nature. Powerful water, mist, a feeling of an element that dominates everything around it. The frame is clean and often misleadingly suggests enormous scale and space. Reality begins as soon as you arrive. Instead of feeling like the end of the world, the falls turn out to be part of a highly developed tourist area with hotels, casinos, lighting, and attractions. The scale, which looks colossal in a photo, feels different on site because the view is framed, controlled, and surrounded by an urban environment. You don't see endless nature, but a specific scene set in infrastructure. Many people are surprised by this, not by the waterfall, but by the fact that the real experience is less epic than the images promise. The camera amplifies the drama, but the human eye immediately grasps the context: roads, buildings, platforms, and rules. Niagara is real, powerful, and impressive, but the scale and sense of wilderness exist mainly in the frame, not in the experience. And if here the frame magnifies nature, the next place does the opposite. The photos cut out the city, which literally begins meters from the ancient wonder. The Pyramids of Giza, Cairo. Online, the pyramids look like an isolated wonder in the middle of the desert. Sand, horizon, silence, and a sense of antiquity cut off from the modern world. The frame suggests that you are far away from everything modern. The reality is that the pyramids are literally on the edge of Cairo, one of the largest and most chaotic cities in Africa. From certain angles behind them, you can see apartment blocks, roads, and city noise. This is no secret, but almost no popular photo shows it. The camera deliberately cuts out the city to create the illusion of desert solitude. The scale also feels different. In photos, the pyramids seem untouchable and distant, but on site, you realize that you are much closer to civilization than you expect. The experience is powerful and impressive, but the context changes the feeling. You are not lost in time, but standing between antiquity and the modern city. The pyramids are real, grandiose, and historically unique, but that feeling of absolute isolation and mystery exists mainly in the frame, not in the whole picture. If the photos here hide the city, the next place shows the opposite problem, a natural phenomenon that the camera makes much more dramatic than the human eye can see. Northern Lights. Online, the Northern Lights look unreal. Bright green and purple waves moving across the sky like living matter. The images create the impression that this is something constant, powerful, and guaranteed, as long as you are in the right place. The reality is much quieter. To the human eye, the Northern Lights often appear pale, almost like a bright cloud moving slowly. The intense colors you see online are the result of long exposure, sensitive sensors, and processing. The camera captures something that the eye simply cannot perceive in the same way. And there is also something else that the photos do not make clear. The Northern Lights are not guaranteed. It depends on solar activity, cloud cover, light pollution, and patience. Many people wait for hours in the cold to see a brief, faint flash that has nothing to do with the images on social media. The experience can be special, but it is often far more subdued and uncertain than the expectations created online. Here, the discrepancy is not in the place, but in the difference between how the camera sees and how the person sees. And if here, the camera exaggerates reality, the next place does something different. It turns an ordinary urban space into an icon that is a completely different experience in real life. Times Square. Online, Times Square looks like pure energy. Colors, lights, a cinematic atmosphere, and the feeling that you are at the center of the world. The images are bright, orderly, and often shot from above, so that everything looks grand and impressive. The reality is much more intense. In person, it is a noisy, overloaded, and visually aggressive space where the lights never stop. The screens compete for your attention, and the place itself has no pause. The scale, which looks epic in a photo, feels rather oppressive in person. Times Square is not a place for walking or contemplation. It is a crossroads, an outdoor advertising screen, and a tourist attraction all at once. The photos capture the energy, but they don't show the fatigue that comes after 10 minutes of standing there. This is not a lie. It's just that the frame doesn't convey the feeling. If the problem here is overstimulation, the next place is just the opposite. An ancient city that seems free and mystical online, but is highly regulated in real life. Machu Picchu. Online, Machu Picchu looks like a lost city in the clouds. Silence, space, and the feeling that you are alone among something ancient and untouched. The images suggest freedom, as if you can walk around, stop, stay as long as you want. The reality is strictly organized. Access is by time slots, routes are fixed, movement is one way, and stays are limited. You don't walk around, you follow. You don't stop, you keep going. Everything is done to protect the site, but this fundamentally changes the experience. The scale also feels different. In photos, the place looks endless and open, but in real life, you realize that you are moving in a framed space with a clear beginning and end. The magic is there, but it is not spontaneous. It is measured. Machu Picchu remains one of the most impressive places in the world. It's just not the free, solitary experience that social media promises. And if the discrepancy here comes from control, the next place shows how strict rules and the scale of visits change even a symbol of love. Taj Mahal. Online, the Taj Mahal looks like a symbol of pure, eternal love. White marble, soft light, almost abstract beauty. The photos create the feeling that the place exists outside of time and everyday life. The reality is much more human and earthly. The experience there is short, intense, and strongly focused on taking photos. Most visitors spend more time looking for the right shot than actually contemplating the site. The place feels more like a stage than a space for experience. There is another contrast that is rarely mentioned. The Taj Mahal is extremely beautiful, but the city around it, Agra, has nothing to do with this image. You leave the complex and find yourself in a completely different atmosphere, which abruptly interrupts the romantic feeling created by the photos. The Taj Mahal does not disappoint with its beauty. The discrepancy comes from the fact that the online image sells an emotion that exists only for a brief moment on site, between two photos. And if here the clash is between symbol and real environment, the next place shows how an entire city can look romantic online, but function in a completely different way in real life. Venice. Online, Venice looks like a city outside of reality. Canals without haste, gondolas in silence, romance at every turn. The photos create the feeling that this is a place for slow walks and spontaneous discoveries. The reality is that Venice functions as a fragile system, not as a free city. Everyday life there is complicated, logistics are difficult, and space is limited. What seems easy and natural online often feels like constant movement within narrow confines. Bridges, canals, fixed routes. There is something else that the images do not clearly show. Venice is not a city that engulfs tourists. It requires adaptation. Distances are covered on foot, orientation is confusing, and the city does not forgive rushing. Many people arrive with romantic expectations and leave tired, not because the place is not beautiful, but because its rhythm is completely different from the image online. Venice does not lie with its photos. They simply show only one side of it. And if the discrepancy here comes from the way the city functions, the next place shows how a beach can look wild and peaceful online, but be something completely different in real life. Majorca. Online, Majorca looks like a wild Mediterranean idyll. Small bays, crystal clear water, empty beaches, and the feeling that you have discovered a secret place. The photos create the impression that the island is a combination of nature and tranquility. The reality is that most of these shots are taken in very specific places at very specific times. Many of the popular coves are small in size and not designed for large crowds. This means that the experience depends heavily on the time of arrival and the season. The same beach can look like paradise in the early morning and like a completely different place later in the day. There is another detail that photos rarely show: access. Some of Mallorca's most famous beaches require walking, descending steep paths, or climbing down rocks. This is not a problem in itself, but it comes as a surprise to many people because it looks easy and effortless online. Mallorca is a beautiful island. The discrepancy comes from the fact that social media shows individual moments rather than the whole experience, the journey there, the weather, and the limitations of the place itself. Hollywood Walk of Fame. Online, the Walk of Fame looks like glamour and history. Stars on the pavement, cinema heritage, the feeling that you are in the heart of Hollywood. The photos suggest prestige and magic. The reality is far more prosaic. The walk is just a few city streets, part of a normal neighborhood, with souvenir shops, heavy traffic, and an environment that has nothing to do with movie romance. Many people arrive expecting a cinematic place and are surprised at how ordinary everything looks outside the frame. The discrepancy here is not in beauty, but in meaning. Online, the stars seem like a symbol of fame. On site, they are part of an everyday cityscape that does not stop, slow down, or try to be special. The Hollywood Walk of Fame is not fake. It's just not the experience that the photos promise. Transition to the bonus. And when so many different places have one thing in common, a discrepancy between the frame and reality, the most important question arises: how to recognize it in time? Bonus. How to tell if a place is beautiful for a photo or for an experience. Before you fall in love with a destination, ask yourself a simple question. What am I not seeing in this photo? Check out videos, not photos. Movement, sound, and rhythm reveal the truth. Look at the place on Google Maps from the side and from above. This way you can see the context that the photos hide. And most importantly, if all the photos look almost the same, it means the place is being sold from a single angle. This doesn't mean that it is not worth it. It means that you need to know what you are going to experience, not just what you're going to photograph. Photos don't lie, they just tell a very small part of the story. Niagara Falls, the pyramids in Cairo, the Northern Lights, Times Square, Machu Picchu, the Taj Mahal, Venice, Mallorca. All these places are real, beautiful, and impressive. But none of them are just what you see online. If you go with the right expectations, you won't be disappointed. You will understand the place for what it is. If this video helped you take a more sober view of perfect destinations, subscribe to the channel. Write in the comments which place looked amazing online, but surprised you in a different way in real life.